This is Chad Rich up at Fort Wilderness, just saying hi and giving you a little bit update about what's going on up here. Right now I'm over at the Leadership Lab site where I've been the director. That's the dining hall behind me there. Been the director over here for the last 9 summers and been at camp for 17 years, and I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little bit about what's going on up here. It's a fall afternoon. Sky's cloudy, but it's a good day for a walk, and I thought I'd take you down one of the paths that we go down here at camp, see what we could see. But want to give you an update on what's been going on. Like I said, was directing lab this summer again for about 55 campers we had this summer. It was a good opportunity for us to connect with high schoolers and encourage them in their faith, encourage them down the walk, down their paths, and hopefully giving them some hope for the future, some ideas about how to pursue Christ now, and what life might look like as you follow Christ. I came up here 17 years ago with my wife Heidi, and we came up to mentor and disciple young people. And now we feel like we're in another stage where we can mentor and disciple all sorts of people, young and old, men and women, just sharing with them what's been going on in our lives and what life's been like following Christ for us for the last however many years. For me, I've been following Christ now for about 40 years. Sometimes I feel like, I know sometimes I've been on the path. Sometimes I know I have not been on the path that God would want for me. And it's been hard to figure that out, but it's been worth it to figure out what God wants for us in life, and to follow Him on His path for us instead of taking our own when we think we know better. So yeah, that's what we've been doing this summer, walking the path with these students for 3 weeks at a time, encouraging them in their faith. This fall, we just had a couple of adult retreats. We had one men's retreat and a women's retreat now, and it was kind of fun to see one of the mothers of one of my campers this summer up at camp during the women's retreat, and she said that it was neat to see her son coming home and how much different he was coming home. She said she really felt like he really grew into who he was as a person, understanding himself a little bit better, going back with a little more confidence, a little more assurance of who he is, and that he is acceptable, and that he is a child of God too. So it's been neat to hear that. Sometimes I don't always hear that side of things, but it's been good to hear that from her. This path that I'm on right now is a path. I'm going to show you a little bit down the path in front of me here. This path goes along Blair Lake. Blair Lake's off on my left side over here. Lab is on one side of the lake, and Adventure Outpost is on the other side of the lake, and a bunch of people from your neck of the woods have come up and helped either at Lab or Outpost or been through those camps, and it's just neat to see them come back as staff and grow in their faith as well. But this path between the two sites, we go down this path to go over to the low ropes course over at Outpost from time to time, and when we're on this path with the campers, I have one of them that go off in pairs, and I have one of them close their eyes, and then the other one lead them down this path. And it's an interesting trust building thing, to walk down a path with rocks, can trip over rocks or branches or whatever it might be, and just having to trust somebody, and just trusting one another. But ultimately I found it to be part of my life, and part of my greatest growth in my relationship with God is trusting in Him with everything, and growing in trust has been important. And Proverbs 3, 5, and 6 says, "Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding, but in all your ways acknowledge Him, and He will direct your paths." I've learned to trust God more and more with my life. And I've learned along the way that as I trusted him, that he is trustworthy. He's not going to run me into the branches along the side of the path or anything like that. No, he's gonna guide me and lead me on a path that is trustworthy and that is good for me. Another thing that I just got the other day, actually was today. Heard today from a past labber from many years ago, and he's now a youth pastor up in the area. And I thought that was so awesome to hear that he's now gone on and is now leading others in their paths, and hearing that the fruits of your labor really impacted lives, or hearing him continue on, that was an encouragement to me. And he wants to connect back up with camp now that he's up in the area, and maybe bring his youth up. Another great thing to hear is faith being passed on from generation to generation, and sharing with other people what have been important in our lives, in our faith. And now him wanting to come back and share fort with the youth that he's now leading. Pretty cool, pretty cool. Like I said too, we just got done with a couple of fall retreats for adults, and a couple weeks ago it was the men's retreat, and there's a guy that came into the coffee shop where I serve on the weekends a lot. Fun place to be and be able to connect with people along the way. But there's a guy that came in, and the last few years I just connected with him every time he's up, and he was just sharing how this is the beginning of his year. And what an awesome thing to hear that Fort has that kind of impact, where this guy comes up every year, invests time, comes up with a couple of his brothers and his dad. And I know he came up with brought his grandpa in the past too. And these guys come up, and this is the beginning of their year of being ready for the rest of it, preparing for the rest of it in order to go back and be better men back in their worlds. So that's pretty cool too. I'm not sure if you guys remember what Fort's theme was a few years ago, but in Psalms 145 we took a verse from there, and it's David sharing where he was at with the Lord, and talking about one generation commending God's works to the next generation. And for me, whether it's been with my family or with the kids that come through lab, or the people at main camp that I'm able to walk alongside for that little stretch of the trail, that commending God's works to the next generation and saying it's worth it. Not only has God been the God of the Old Testament and the New Testament, but he has been the God of my life, and he is still working, and he is still worth following. That's what I feel I'm supposed to do, and I know that's what we're all supposed to do, is commend God's works to the next generation. Tell people about what God has done and is doing, and that he is faithful, and that he is trustworthy, and that he is a loving God. Well, thanks for giving me some time just to share what's been going on up here. I'm coming up on Outpost over here. Maybe we'll be able to walk down the path a little bit together this fall, or maybe this next season, next year. But I thank you for your faithfulness and your care for what we're doing up here. Pray for blessings on your ministry down there, and look forward to seeing you on the path. Take care, and God bless.